We play old games. That's right. We love playing old games. We love watching old movies. Look. The millennial generation is a very nostalgic generation. That's for sure. I say that as speaking as a millennial, and I think that's why we like to play a lot of this old shit. Also, was it just made better? Sometimes it feels that way. So let's get to this one here. The games industry is finally accepting reality. We love to play old games. Here we go. Let's get into this one here from Bellular.
Something fairly new is happening more and more these days, and actually I think it's pretty damn good. Today the main things we're talking about are new DLC for an 11-year-old game, and a brand new game-changing patch for a 16-year-old game. These are the main examples, but there's more than this going on in the industry. The Witcher 3, Songs of the Past, and StarCraft 2 are both in the headlines, which is kind of absurd, right? And it's not for remakes or remasters. Quite simply, we're getting new updates for games that were already old at the turn of the decade.
This is not just like a games industry thing. Like I said, it's a nostalgic generation. It's like the movies. Like, wasn't Toy Story supposed to be done? They kept saying like, oh yeah, we're done. And then they keep doing it. Here comes Toy Story 5. I think we're going to be at Toy Story 12 soon. And they just keep remaking the old movies, all the live action remakes, all of these, Jurassic Park, reviving that entire franchise. Like, all this shit is just reborn, reforged, and redone old stuff. That's what they keep doing. Those are like the safe bets. Like, those are better than thinking up new stories and new content, new things to do. So this just seems to be like a constant trope throughout. It's not just gaming, but everywhere.
And I think it reveals something about the games industry right now. Big picture, the gaming audience isn't really playing new games. And of course, new games are taking longer and longer to produce, and they're getting more and more expensive. And for a long time, that's driven remakes and remasters. But today, it's definitely going further. We're getting brand new content to games that we've already been playing and we already own. And if this trend catches on and is actually done right, it could be really good for the health of the industry and for the games that we play. The Witcher 3 Songs of the Past has been rumored for years by this stage.
I actually played The Witcher 3
until 2027, but it is exactly what you'd think it is. It's a brand new, blood and wine sized narrative expansion for The Witcher 3. So very much not like one of those tiny Netflix show update things that they did. Meanwhile then, for StarCraft, it's just getting a patch on its public test realm, which in itself isn't extremely unusual. They actually tend to do one of these like every 1 or 2 years. Like, there was a 2024 patch that changed 14 units, 10 buildings, and added 2 new abilities, which was pretty good, but this current patch really is something else.
Oh, it's
changing units across all 3 factions. There are core economy changes for resources and workers, different worker start amounts, and loads more. As an example, there's a full rebuild of mechanics like how the gateway works, which basically changes one of the core gameplay pillars of the Protoss faction. That's absolutely huge. And along with it, there's some quality of life improvements. And
I have not kept up with StarCraft or anything in that game genre forever. Do people still have tournaments? I mean, that's really where StarCraft took off in a big way. It was like the esports scene and stuff. Do they still do StarCraft tournaments? Is there still one at BlizzCon? I guess is the better question, because they used to finish them out there. I guess there is. I haven't paid attention to it. StarCraft is no longer in Blizzard's hands. If I'm not wrong, the company in Korea works on it. Yeah, I think you're right. I think they basically passed it off for them to do passive updates on it.
Bug fixes. Pretty damn big. It's a fundamental reworking. It's driven by a lot of feedback. Though obviously it's not out yet. It's on the test realm. Not every change is exactly perfect, but what's been undeniable is how staggered that game's audience has been by how much the game's actually been altered. And that's because within the community, we really...
It's still a very popular game. Yeah, man. Yeah, look at the views on these videos. 60K, 116K, 82K, and then right here, 125K. Damn. So there's still an audience out there for it. Maybe I should become a StarCraft creator. Shit.
Saw StarCraft 2 as being a bit of a dead game to Blizzard, and one that we would have to prop up and keep alive. Very much not the case, it would seem. And while these are 2 pretty neat examples, they're not even the first games to get updates and content like this in 2026. Okay, let's see how this new wave of updates is going. We're not really talking about remakes or remasters here. Those are a different thing. They're an endless tide. We're getting Star Fox, Gothic 1, and a few others in just this month. And of course, we know why that happens, and we've got some numbers. These come from surveys
Star Fox
from
just a
MTM
remake?
Consulting that were surfaced by GameIndustry.biz, and they show that 90% of gamers play remakes or remasters. That's hardly a surprise. I count on that 90%. Chances are you do. But what's key is that of that 90%, 85% are playing games that they...
Wait a minute, it's a remake of Star Fox 64? Oh my god, that's awesome. I played through Star Fox 64 like 30 times. I loved that game as a kid. I played it nonstop. Wheelbarrow roll. I remember it freaking. And I would intentionally shoot at Slippy. What was his name? Flippy or Slippy the frog? I hated him, man. I'd shoot at him all the time. Every time I crossed my screen, I'd friendly fire the shit out of him. Yeah, do a barrel roll,
Never
exactly.
played in their original form. So what that means is many of these game designs truly
The
are
remake of Ocarina
timeless,
of Time,
and
I
as long
saw
as
that.
people can play them in a vaguely modern fashion, they can actually do really well, and they can expand the reach of those games. Now, what we're seeing recently basically goes past that. It goes a little bit further. So it's not refreshed versions of old games, it is genuinely new content that is built for games that can be a decade old. Now this year alone, we got the likes of, say, a surprise reveal of the new Warlock class for Diablo 2 Resurrected. That's the first character that game's had in 25 years.
Jeez.
Now Blizzard told Eurogamer they may do more in the future, though they were careful to add, quote, "We don't want to mess up the Mona Lisa." Fair enough. But there's another company who's also doing it, and that is Creative Assembly. They appointed a back catalog product owner. Quite the job role, but I actually think it's pretty cool. They're a person whose sole job is to support and update older games, and they're starting it off with Rome 2.
Interesting. So, I mean, that's kind of like what Blizzard did. Somebody mentioned in the chat earlier about the Korea thing. They basically hired them, or I think they're like a subsidiary of Blizzard. Like Blizzard bought them a while ago. Whatever it is, they basically are just carrying forward the StarCraft universe. They're not like creating a StarCraft expansion or anything, but they're just keeping it up to date, adding things here and there, doing what they're doing with it to keep it alive.
Of course, if you take a look at Steam, you can see that Rome 2 is still a very, very frequently played game. It makes sense to update it. It makes sense to maybe make content for it. Now, of course, there's a game that's went further than most, and that's Age of Empires 2. It's getting multiple new DLCs every year. There's
I
brand
loved
new
Age of
campaigns,
Empires back
new
in the day.
factions. It keeps expanding, and the way they do the campaigns, at least for some of them, is way more involved than what's
download
shipped
Age
to
of
the base
Empires too.
game. But when you look at all of these, there's something specific that you notice, and it's that they're all franchises. They're all franchises that, more often than not, have new games. But even though those new games exist, the companies are going back and they're meeting the demands of people who are still playing the old games. That's a bit weird, because usually when a company moves on to its next thing, if you prefer the thing that you've currently got, you just feel dropped like a rock. That seems to be changing. I think that might be a good thing. The big question then is, how big is the demand for things like this? It's big enough that the lead producer on Diablo 2 said it rather plainly. Quote, "We still have millions of people who play Diablo 2.
That's crazy.
Millions of them." So he pretty heavily emphasized saying millions again. Some audiences simply won't move on. Not to D3, not to D4, and if you look at Total War and Steam, you really see the same thing. There's healthy player counts on Medieval 2 right now in 2026.
There's like new games can't hit these numbers. That's crazy, man. They're hitting like, what is that, 5K a day? There's a lot of new games that wish they had these kinds of numbers, man. And it's still going up. Look at that, the trajectory at the bottom of the years. That's insane.
And for the longest time, that's actually been a fundamental issue.
Look at
for the
this.
games
Look at this. Can you tell on the chart when COVID happened? Can the class point out when COVID happened on this chart? I think you can kind of see when people got sent home from work. Yeah, look at that blip right there. That's crazy. Everybody sat home for a little while. Yeah, let's play Total War. Here we go.
Industry. And in trying to get around that issue for a very long time, Creative Assembly kind of ended up torching their reputation. Now, there's some stats to this that honestly are a bit spooky, right? This is the Steam replay data for 2025. We see that 40% of all PC playtime that year went to games that are older than 8 years. And in this industry,
wow.
8's a big number. It's not just 1 or 2 year out of date games. No, it's 8. And another 44% sat in the 1 through 7 year range. That's not a small number. And in many cases, it's because the companies haven't convinced you to move on. And you know what?
True.
Yesterday, I was playing Shogun 2 Total War. It's one of my favorite games. There hasn't really been one that hits the way that it does since, and to be honest with you, if they made another expansion for it, I'd absolutely buy the damn thing. This stuff doesn't mean that new games are worse. It just means that for some people, going back to, say, D2 or Witcher 3 is kinda like queuing up with friends for the umpteenth time, right? You kind of already know what you want out of the experience, so you just go to that experience and get it, rather than...
I wonder if COVID played maybe played a factor cause. Remember game production stopped. Well, I mean, Blizzard did blame a lot of the Shadowlands production on COVID. If you remember, they said a lot of that was, oh, a lot of the Shadowlands issues were because of COVID and everyone got sent home and didn't know how to work from home at first and all that. Only Total War games I like are Warhammer games. Warhammer games are cool. Can't wait for Warhammer 40K Total War game. I mean, that's another one of those titles like he's talking about in this video. That's a throwback that keeps getting remade. So, I mean, yeah, that fits kind of the genre of things in this video.
Risking a new thing. So for the companies involved, this is a way to reach players who are more than a decade in the past, of their own volition and choice, as I am with, say, Total War Shogun 2, but it lets the companies keep us as monthly active users on their own metrics and maybe make some more money out of us, rather than just letting us drift away as audience members, and of course from our perspective, them having no incentive to invest in the games that we do actually love. Now obviously, this is not a foolproof process. I mean, think about the StarCraft 2 changes. You could almost call it a StarCraft 2.5 or, something like that. It's very different from base Legacy of the Void.
Or what about Warcraft 3 Reforged? Yeah, I mean, it's not 100% hit home run. Like, you can mess up a remake or an advancement on an old game, for sure.
And if Blizzard's execution of all this stuff doesn't work in practice, especially once the meta develops with the best players, that could be kind of chaotic. For some other games, what if an update breaks mods from a creator who's no longer maintaining them? I mean, we've just seen CD Projekt Red deal with their own version of this, where they raised Witcher 3's minimum specs to require Windows 11 or SSDs. You can still run it on older hardware, but basically, in moving those requirements, they're officially no longer promising that the game will work on those older machines.
They're not going to continue to
so
patch
there
it.
is real potential for this to go wrong, but there's also an obvious financial incentive. I mean, the weekend after Songs of the Past's announcement, Witcher 3's Steam player count spiked to the highest it's been since February.
Yeah, I'll be honest, like, because, it made me want to play Witcher 3. Like, even the most recent announcements about Witcher 3 and them adding a whole new campaign and content, it gives you that itch again. I'm like, ooh, I kind of miss The Witcher 3. I kind of want to go back and play it a little bit.
Hype. Some of that will translate to sales, and when the expansion actually does launch, there'll be a whole new audience hearing about the franchise for the first time. And honestly, I think CD Projekt Red are going to make a shitload of money in that.
Yeah,
and in a roundabout way, that'll be good for you. And I say
more
that because
cyberpunk
there are
stuff?
secondary effects to all of this. And a good few of them will pay off for everyone who hasn't been playing the same game for a decade. Witcher 3 getting an expansion means that Witcher 4 and Witcher 1 Remake are going to be better games. And I think that's a very easy claim to make, and here's how it works. The team building Songs of the Past are called Fool's Theory. They're an ex-CD Projekt Red dev-led studio, and they're also building the remake under CD Projekt Red's guidance.
Oh,
so
kind of like Blizzard
means
with the
is Fool's Theory
StarCraft
ships the
stuff.
product at CDPR's expected quality level. They, in doing that, get to learn, they get to test their skills. CD Projekt Red gets a healthy influx of cash, but most importantly, they get to do the single most important thing before a new game launches: building up hype. CD Projekt Red are planning to release The Witcher 4 at some point from 2027 onwards. That's more than a decade after Witcher 3, and it'll be the first of 3 Witcher games that'll be coming in 6 years. So they really need people to care about that franchise again. They need some reason for you to come along, and let's be real, The Witcher TV show very much has abandoned doing that.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good.
Man, that started out so good. The Witcher TV show with Henry Cavill had a good start. It really did. And the Bard, toss a coin to your Witcher. Oh, Valley of Plenty. Man, it was good. It was good. And then it just wasn't anymore. It just got too crazy, too woke. It really did. I'm not like, oh, everything's going woke and the world's getting ruined. But sometimes it does ruin something, and it kind of did on that front. They just tried to branch away from the main storyline too much. They did, and they tried to like abandon the Witcher. Really, like he's the main character, and we'd go like 3-4 episodes without even freaking really seeing him. It was ridiculous, kind of sad. And like this isn't me just like I'm being a hater or something. The directors themselves said that. They said that they wanted to branch away from the source material, which is fucking ridiculous. I mean, who the hell likes The Witcher? It's the people who like the source material. That was your audience, and you were literally saying the shit they liked goes against what you want to do. Yeah, that was a freaking fumble. That was an all-time fumble by those guys.
Good for them. And this applies to StarCraft as well. You see, Star 2 never stopped getting updates. They did slow down, like, humongously, but there's an obvious reason why these changes are happening now and why they're so large. And that's that all evidence is pointing towards something happening with StarCraft at this year's BlizzCon. And to summarize the key bits, there's been a bidding process that ended up seeing Nexon win the rights to a new StarCraft game, and then there's the StarCraft shooter project within Blizzard that Jason Schreier flagged while promoting his book.
It's not dead.
And from everything that we know, that game is still very much in development. But at the risk of stating the obvious, a big shooter project maybe won't appeal to StarCraft 2's core fans who love
Probably
RTSs, right? So what'll happen when those games get revealed and they don't appeal to those players? Well, the answer now would be that the people at Blizzard have clearly thought about that problem. And because of patches like this one, the RTS players still get to feel seen. They still get to feel like their game matters enough. They're less likely to be angry, they're less likely to generate bad press for something that's new. And hell, they might even consider the new thing, because even if it's not completely up their alley, the company just treated them reasonably, so they'll be more ready to do the same. But if they don't, that's actually going to be okay as well. And that's where the real industry change here becomes clear. With this, the games industry is finally embracing a group of players that's massive and has been underappreciated, and that's those of us who don't buy new games. The new business model then is to treat them as a market in their own right, not trying to convince them to move on, just trying to convince them to, you know, maybe buy that new Witcher expansion, which will still add to the company's bottom line. It's not quite live service for old games. It's not quite games designed to run forever with constant monetization, but I think it's learning lessons from that model in a way that actually feels like it's good for us as consumers. And all of it in service.
And it's good for them as a company. I mean, these companies are making money off of these, like keeping these old games alive, adding content to old games. The biggest example of that is going to be Classic Plus. Like, Classic Plus is going to be, if you like Classic or not, you can't ignore the fact that it's going to be a huge winner for Blizzard. They're going to make so much money off of it, and all they're doing is adding content to a really old game. That's it, and it's gonna be very successful. I think it's gonna be hard for Blizzard to mess it up. It's gonna be hard for them to get it right, because like everybody has a different idea of what Classic Plus is supposed to be. But it's also gonna be hard for them to completely fumble it so hard that people don't like it. I think people are gonna like it, and I think people are gonna eat that shit up, and a lot of people are gonna activate their WoW subs because of it.
Of one simple acknowledgement. People who like video games love the experiences they've had with video games, which will almost always be ones that have happened in the past, right? As much as I could get hyped for a new game, there are so many games where I just know I'm going to get what I want from it, like with Shogun 2. And now, thanks to the convergence of so many different factors in games production, how the economy's changed, even distribution, it can now happen. We can now be offered more product for things that we already like. Not something new, but rather something more. Please, Creative Assembly, give me another Shogun 2 expansion.
Again, I don't know if it's a millennial thing or what, but even my wife complains about it. And she's only 2 years younger than me, so it's not like there's a huge age gap between us. But like, even me, when it comes to something I like, when I know I like it, I'm very happy to go back to it. I mean, if I find a dish that I like at a restaurant, I am very reluctant to try anything else on the menu. I lock in. I'm like just locked in. Every time we go to back to that restaurant, I'm like, I know what I'm getting. I don't even. My wife, she's like, aren't you gonna look at the menu? I'm like, no, I know what I'm getting. I already know what I like. I'm gonna go ahead and order that thing, and that's it. And it kind of goes the same with video games. Like, you get excited for if they add content to old stuff because you already know you like it. You're like, oh, I'm gonna spend money on this thing, knowing that I'm probably gonna enjoy it because I already know I enjoy this game. It kind of goes with that. Yeah, all right. Yeah, tight. Well, yeah. So it's easy to spend money on something you already like, and money's tight these days too. So it's more comforting to know you're spending money on a piece of game or game content that most likely you're going to get joy out of, rather than something new, which is more of a risk typically.
And I'd love to hear what your equivalent would be for the games that you love. So, a rare bit of good news, and maybe just the type of news that we need in an industry that is struggling more and more and more. And that's why you should watch this video next, because the Romeros have been warning that as people who saw the games crash of the 80s, the legendary one, right now, they feel what's currently happening within games funding actually feels worse. You can learn about it in this video next.
Yeah, no, the good video overall. And there's so much to this. Like I said, I don't know if it's a millennial issue or what, but nostalgia's strong. And yeah, remaking these games. The reason why Blizzard keeps doing it, the reason why all these companies are doing it is the audience has spoken. They want that old content. They want to keep seeing that old content get iterated on. Nice video overall from Bellular.